Welcome to Today in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone. We have tons of great stuff to cover today, so we're going to jump right in. First up, as always, welcome Mayor Concannon. Welcome, Mike.
Hi Samantha, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me today and the beginning of another great week here in the city.
Yeah, hard to believe it's August already. Summer's
I
flying by.
completely flying by. I'm amazed. For those of you who are loyal watchers who look at the show every week, we won't be taping next week because I will be at the beach in New York at a friend's house. But that's partly why we wanted to cover lots of great stuff that's happening this week. So we appreciate everybody being here. Last weekend was a busy Saturday. We hosted at the Resource Center a healthcare careers exploration class, and it was really an awesome day. We had lots of students and practitioners talking and exploring ways that they can lead up to exciting new careers. But we also had an equally important, if very different event, the Hazardous Waste Day, that I wasn't able to stop by. I know, Mike, that you stopped by there. I'm assuming it was a well-oiled machine as always.
It went very well. Actually, Trish down at the Board of Health stepped up to organize it this year. The gentleman who had been organizing in years past, John, had moved on to a different assignment. So Trish was thrust into it in the last couple of weeks, and she did a great job. It really was a well-oiled machine. Her husband, Paul, came down to help out. We also had members of the city council. We had President Dillon and councilors DeMambro, Viola, and Campbell came down, and they stepped right up and helped with guiding folks in and out. And we had a big crowd. It was a busy day. It was a steady stream of cars. At any one point, there was probably a dozen cars lined up, but they did a great job of moving everybody in quickly. Clean Harbors does a great job. They're our partner on this. And again, my special thanks to Trish for stepping up and doing such a great job. And she's just got such a wonderful personality. It was fun to work with her.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She's for those who have not met Trish in person, she's usually the person who answers the phone in the Board of Health and helps us out, and she works really, really hard. There's
Yeah,
she's fantastic.
one of the shining stars. And again, she has a great personality. She's terrific interacting with all the residents. I think she knew everybody who came through. She's got that gift of conversation, and she's just a very nice person. And I'm really pleased with how everything went this weekend. And I thank her.
That's fantastic. Before we get off of the topic of the Board of Health and disposals, we do have a event coming up for getting rid of our older trash barrels that you may no longer want.
Yeah, we did this with the recycling bins last year when we rolled out that aspect of the program. You know, people had the option of just putting the recycle bin out in the trash and it would be picked up. Or, like we like to think that there's another use maybe for things like this, they could repurpose them. So same discussion with the trash bins. If you've got, good quality, formerly used trash bins that you used to use but now can't, I would like to think that there's some use around the house or in the garden, in the shed. But if not, and you just want to get rid of them, they have the opportunity to schedule a pickup. But we also wanted to make sure that for those who didn't want to wait, we offered this other opportunity where they could simply bring their old bins down to the City Hall parking lot on Saturday, August 16th, from 8 to 12. And our partners, Waste Management, will take those off your hands for you. We'll stack them all up and take them away. So it worked very well with the recycling. We had a tremendous turnout. All sorts of people showed up. We had dumpsters full. So we wanted to offer the same opportunity with these trash bins. So just one more service,
Okay.
hopefully, to make things a little easier on folks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I also just want to remind people to make sure they're empty. We do have limited storage space, so being able to stack them and combine them and do all that will be important. But thank you for glad to appreciate the Board of Health and Waste Management bringing this for us to speed things up a little bit for those who want to take advantage of it. Excellent. I want to switch gears and talk about some fun entertainment. The last week we had Anthony Langone on to talk about a little mini concert happening in the park this week. Hoping to take advantage of that. I haven't checked the weather yet for the day, but it looked for the whole week pretty sunny to me. So I'm hoping it'll be a good
Yeah.
one.
Trio. And people in Woburn probably know Dave as Dave Otoriano. He's been doing this type of stuff most of his adult life. He's very successful. He's traveling around New England, musician and comedian of sorts. So he'll be out there Thursday night. I know Dave very well. We grew up together. And fun thing about Dave is when he plays around Woburn, he's always sure to include some old Woburn nostalgia and tidbits of trivia. Just be careful about sitting in the front row or you'll become part of the show. But
So
it's a
we're going to
lot of
put you
fun.
right in the front row, Mike, right? That's where you're going
He
to be.
finds me wherever I sit, he finds me and regales everybody in the stories when I was 11 years old in the old neighborhood. But no, it's a fun time, great musician, and it's nice that the WRA is stepping up for this type of programming in the new Pocket Park. We like to see that being used. So I'd encourage everybody to come out and join us for a fun night.
Fantastic. It looks really fun. I'm looking forward to it. We also have some new educational offering. I hope it's a little bit of entertainment, but mostly educational. We're kicking off a city academy series. So a lot of cities will do this where you have sort of these opportunities for residents to meet directly with folks who work in our local government and talk about the work they do and how they do it. And it's a really rewarding experience for the folks who work around the city every day, but also hopefully a really rewarding experience for residents as well. And we have our first one coming up with the city clerk's office.
We do. We have the City Academy so, on 14
Yep.
from 5 to 7. As people know, City Hall is open late on Thursday nights. So this is a chance for people to come in and see how City Hall operates and ask questions and get a bit of a presentation from the clerk's office. It's always helpful for people to see up close and personal the hard work that's being done on their behalf, a chance to ask a lot of questions and maybe get a little more familiar with exactly how it works. A little bit of a behind the scenes uh, snapshot of a day in the life. So we're very happy that the city clerk's office has agreed to step up and be the first test case. Lindsay Higgins and her team, I'm sure, will put on a good show and be available to ask a lot of answer a lot of questions about the various things that they do. Most people go into the clerk's office when they need a birth certificate or a dog license or something, but they do so much more. And a big part of that, as Councilor Toro knows, is their support of the city council and all the various meetings and paperwork that comes in and out of there. So I think people, it would be a good idea for people to come in and get a close-up look of how their city clerk's office works and all the various things they do on all our behalf.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, because we're so close to preliminary elections and the next municipal election in November, they'll talk about elections and voting specifically as well. And I know for many years I totally took it for granted. I show up and there's a ballot and I vote and I move on. But it's a really complex but well managed process that team runs, and it takes them weeks of preparation leading up to
Yep.
that,
And
and we're grateful.
it's
So folks will get a chance to see it and ask questions.
it's a sacred responsibility preserving people's right to vote. And I know Lindsay and her whole team take it very seriously and they make sure that everybody has the opportunity to exercise that right. And they do a great job and they do it in a customer friendly way. They're very courteous and professional. And again, I think if people have the chance to come out and attend this city academy, I think they'll learn a lot and they'll come away with a renewed sense of the hard work and the good people that work for the city.
I hope so too. We do ask people to register, but you don't have to register. You can come. That just gives us a little bit of a sense of how many people to expect. So hopefully we'll see folks that will be there. We're talking about voting a little bit, so I just want to touch on another topic. Last week, the schools had sort of a public meeting, not sort of, it was a public meeting hosted by the school committee about school building feasibility study and, sort of giving some thoughts and ideas for people to think about in terms of maybe prioritizing building needs, physical building needs and capital investments in those.
Yeah.
And, I think the question that stems from that a lot is, do we anticipate going out to vote this year, collecting, feedback from voters about making that kind of a big investment?
Yeah, so we're early on in the process. As you said, you know, 2 years ago now, the city hired a company named Danisco to do a survey of all of the school buildings in the city and the needs associated with each of those buildings. And to nobody's surprise, they determined that it was probably time for the city to take a look at the North Woburn elementary schools and perhaps combine them into one big new school. That was one of their findings, and maybe not a surprise, but the notion of work being done on our middle schools also was one of the priorities. And I think that the extent of the work that they felt was needed may have been a bit of a surprise. Again, I'm talking about the middle schools. So they produced that report. There was an ad hoc committee that got together to try to digest that report and kind of give some guidance on next steps and a path forward. So that committee met and they produced some results. And now the school committee is digesting all of that information and trying to determine next steps forward from their perspective. So as part of that, they had this public meeting the other night. They're garnering input and feedback from residents and taxpayers here in the city of how they think we should proceed. I think it's their intent, the school committee's intent, to wrap up their work by late September, and then the school committee, I presume, will hold a vote and determine their position and their priorities and their perspective on the next steps. After that, it goes to the city council, where they get to weigh in and offer their thoughts. And the goal of all this would be to get the city to the point where we are submitting a letter of interest to the Mass School Building Authority to try to get us on the list for reimbursement to build one or potentially two new schools. So all of those things are underway now. I think it's too soon to determine exactly how this all plays out and when. But I think, again, the target is to try to get a letter of interest to the state, probably by early spring, to get us in the queue for consideration for new school buildings here in Woburn. I don't know exactly how this will play out just yet. So in terms of when and whether there'd be a vote of sorts, we know there'll be a school committee vote, there'll be a city council vote, but any other votes or impacts or input from the community, a little early to have that conversation just yet.
Great. Thank you for that. I want to turn our attention to fire stations. There was, we don't always celebrate when buildings come down, but in this case, the old Station 4 came down, making way for a new station that will much better suit our needs moving forward for that part of the city.
Yep.
The next question everybody always asks is like the moment the bricks come down, when do we start actually seeing construction go up? Obviously there's still some cleanup work to do.
Yeah, man, it's a fair question. And, the building came down quick. I wish the new one went up as quickly. It really came down in a matter of a few days. There were two pieces to this. The first piece is the demo. There was one contractor selected. They've done their work. They'll prepare the site so that it's ready for the contractor in phase two. Phase two is actually building the new fire station. That process is underway now. We expect the bid documents for those interested in constructing the new station to be available this week, beginning of next week, August 13th. After that, there'll be a pre-bid conference August 20th. September 2nd, the sub bids, the subcontractors interested in participating, they file their sub bids. And then on September 17th, we hope to receive the bids for the contractor who will actually build the new fire station. So step one is the demo and getting the site ready so that the contractor can come in and simply begin building. The way it works is we basically sign a contract with somebody to deliver a finished building by a certain date. How they do that, when they start, those are decisions they get to make. So whether they actually start pouring a foundation and putting steel up, in December, January, February, that's a call they get to make. Again, our contract with the winning bidder would say you must deliver a fire station to us by a certain date.
Excellent. And of course, since we're talking about fire stations, we have to ask for an update. I know we've talked about Fire Station 5. We have City Council approval to do a similar project there, but we have to be in a different location for those just to refresh their memory. The land where the current station is isn't big enough to build the size station that we believe we need. And so I know that's a long process to determine where it will go. I thought I would just check in on the next steps there.
Sure. So Station 4 in East Woburn, the one we were just talking about, that's easy. Tear down the building that sits there and build a new building on the same site. In the meantime, we're operating out of a temporary location on Henshaw Street in the district, which is great. But Station 5 is a little different. As you said, we can't tear down the existing 5 and build a new one right there. It wouldn't fit. As a matter of fact, if we tried to rebuild 5 where it is, the same building, it wouldn't fit. It wouldn't be approved. So we're looking for a new location for Station 5 on the west side. We've done a whole lot of work on that. We've actually been able to eliminate a couple of locations. We have our site set right now on a location near the Reeves School. We're in the exploratory phase right now, determining whether the type of building we need can actually go there. So far, each step of the analysis has yielded a positive result. So we keep continuing to believe that, yes, it can go there. Once we're convinced and we've settled the issue that it can go there, then we have to have some conversations with partners in the school committee and the city council to make sure they're okay with it going there. And after that, we would then follow the same process we just followed with 4 to get us to the point where we're ready to build, go out to bid on the building of a new Station 5. So I expect the exploratory phase to be ending shortly. Hopefully, we continue to get a thumbs up, and then we will visit with our friends at the school committee and the city council, and hopefully be able to laser focus in on the building of a new building on that site.
Great. Thank you.
And while we have Councilor Toro waiting in the queue for his segment, I'll just say once again, we appreciate very much the support of the city council authorizing the bond to allow us to build these 2 brand new stations. And hopefully at the end of all that, we're also renovating our Station 1 in the south end, much needed, long awaited improvements to our public safety capabilities. And again, thank you to the city council for their support to be able to do this.
Great. Thank you, Mike, as always.
Okay, thank you, Samantha.
Next up, we're going to invite Rob Toro to join us. Rob, thank you for being here. Today, you're wearing your Toro construction hat, and I'm glad that you're joining us for that discussion. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks for having
So,
me.
Toro Construction has very generously hosted a back to school backpack giveaway, prior to school for a couple times at least. You can tell me how many times, but I know at least a couple times. And we really appreciate that's super generous way to support the schools. Thank you for doing it once again this year. I was hoping you can tell us a little bit about what visitors will experience this year. You always have a couple of fun treats in there.
Yeah, so this year it is August 17th, which will be a Sunday, 1 to 4. We generally do it, and again this year it will be at the Woburn High School parking lot. This is our 4th year. I asked Amanda, my wife, actually before we got on the show. I said, "How long have we been doing this now?"
That was
It's our
smart. You knew
4th
who
year.
to ask.
Yeah, she's the mastermind behind this. It was her idea to start this, and it's been great ever since. But so couple things. So the backpack giveaway is it's geared towards elementary school children. This year we expect to give away about 350 to 400 backpacks.
Wow.
And it's filled with, general necessities that a lot of the schools ask for from the parents for their, back to school supplies. We are doing something a little bit different this year, if everything goes as planned, is we are going to give each school a little care package of other things like Lysol wipes and things like that that they can distribute to some of the teachers Um, but this year, in terms of what we expect, so we traditionally have obviously the backpack and school supplies and some snacks for the kids and waters, but we will have ice cream again this year.
You know,
That's
that's always my favorite part.
that's a
I have
hit.
no
That's
children, and I love that I have an excuse to come take pictures, but really
oh
I'm there for the ice cream, Rob.
oh yeah, that is definitely a big hit. We will have a face painter, glitter tattoos, and we are working on one or two things. Every year we try to make it a little bigger and better. This year we have again the Council of Social Concern joining us for a second year. They were gracious enough to kind of co-sponsor the event last year with us, and it was great to have them. And actually, Lynch Cotillion um, asked to join this year. And so now we have two fantastic additional sponsors, which just makes it that much better because obviously it gives us more revenue, more money to spend on supplies and events to make it more of just a, instead of it just being come grab a backpack, it's come grab a backpack, have a snack, hang out for a few minutes. I don't want to say make a day out of it. We don't have that much to do, but people can stay there for a bit of time and hang out and enjoy it. So
Yeah, they maybe get to see a friend or two that they haven't seen all
for
summer or
sure.
don't see as often as
Yeah.
when they're in school. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a fun time. Thank you again for your generosity. Obviously, families will come out that afternoon and pick up backpacks and participate in the fun. Are there other ways in general the community can support you or accepting donations of supplies or anything that we can do to be helpful?
Yeah, so on the post that we throw out on social media, Lynch Cotillion shares it too, and the council does. There is a drop-off station at Lynch Cotillion for school supplies. But if somebody wants to donate, they can always reach out to myself, the council, someone from Lynch Cotillion will always accept donations. So anything would be appreciated. The more we get, the more we're able to give back. Um, so yeah, that would be the easiest way, reaching out to one of the three organizations, and we can always then guide somebody in the best way to drop off donations or assist in the event.
Well, thank you to Toro Construction for leading the charge and collecting great partners to join in. Of course, a special
Yes.
thank you to your wife Amanda
Oh,
for spurring and keeping track of the number of years. We're really grateful, and I know the families in Woburn are really grateful because every little bit helps,
sure.
and this will allow people to start off the year in a good place.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. We enjoy it. It's great to see the families come out and any way we can help them and give them a little bit of financial assistance, you know what I mean, and give their kids a backpack. And for those that can't make it, it is first come, first serve. We do generally still have some backpacks left over. They can always reach out. Generally, we do give, if we have extra backpacks, we do give each school a small supply. So they can always reach out to the principal at the beginning of school. We try to give 5 to 10 to each school. For those that can't make the event or someone that needs one last minute. So generally we have some extras. So please, if you can't make the event, if you're away on vacation or transportation or whatever, please reach out to one of the three organizations. We'll do our best to get you a backpack.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rob. Have a good
No
rest of your
problem.
day.
You as well.
Excellent. Next up, Mackenzie. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So those of you who have watched frequently should recognize Mackenzie. She's our mental health coordinator for the city. Amazing. She's done some incredible things. We're on, I think, most recently around the Fun Run, which was a great event. Today, we're here to talk about something a little bit different, but certainly related to the same cause, which is to help us as a community spend some money we've been given. And I kind of like when we get an opportunity to do that. We were very lucky in Woburn to be the recipient of opioid settlement funds. This is money that comes from pharmaceutical companies. It has some strict guidelines about how it can be used, but within those guidelines, we have a little bit of flexibility in how we do that. So before we talk a little bit about the survey and ways for our community to give feedback on that, I thought it might be helpful to just make sure we all know kind of how the opiate settlement is designed in terms of what's the category of things we can use it for.
Yeah, absolutely. So the opioid settlement funds are focused on supporting anyone who's impacted by opioid addiction or kind of related to substance addiction and the behavioral health components that go along with it. So that can vary anything from implementing programs in a community to assisting with financial needs to accessing services. Our goal here in Woburn has really been to not let the finances be a barrier for people to access resources, and that's kind of where our focus has been. But I keep hearing from different communities really creative ways that they've been using the opioid funds. And so, it ranges from getting a safe needle disposal box in the police department to helping out, like getting a transportation system around their community. So you can be creative, but it has to really tie back to supporting, someone who's struggling with addiction, or families who have someone struggling with addiction, as well as mental health.
That's fantastic. And we're lucky. We're not immune to those things like any other community. So we're lucky to have these resources to help us do that. You have put together a short survey. It's painless. I promise everybody who's watching to collect feedback from folks about how we might like to use those funds as a community and get their input. Where can they find that survey and help out?
Yeah, yeah. So, before going on and spending these opioid funds, I really wanted to complete a community needs assessment and learn a little bit more about Woburn. I'm not originally from Woburn, and I really wanted to learn about the community and kind of where those gaps are in terms of services related to substance use and mental health. So the survey that I created, I think, is 5 questions. It's very quick and simple, like you said. We have it on the city website. We're gonna have a barcode and try to, just disseminate it across the city and in coffee shops and the library. You can come in and complete it in City Hall at my office if you want to. But it's pretty accessible and all over the place.
Excellent. I love it. And if you come to the website, it's right on the homepage, so it's easy to find for anyone to do that. And we've had some nice, good number of people fill it out already, so it'll be great for us. The more people, the more input we have is always to our benefit. I also want to talk a little bit about something unrelated to the opiate settlement itself. In the crisis work that you did outside of Woburn and in other cities in Lowell, and I think Chelsea, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, you had observed and been part of what was called the hub in some places, a situation table is what we're calling it. And it's kind of an exciting opportunity for us to help people in crisis in the city. I thought we would just tell, it's not a public meeting in any way, but I thought we would just let people know what it is and some of the new ways that we're collaborating.
Yeah, absolutely. So the situation table, like you said, is sort of like a high risk program. So the mayor and I met with an external agency called Data Health. They kind of came in and explained and helped us implement what we call the situation table. So the way that it works, like you said, it's not a public meeting, but city stakeholders like yourself, like myself, police, fire, and a few others will come in with cases that we deem kind of high risk. So maybe not necessarily crises, but heading in that direction. And then we have our room full of our amazing providers that we work with regularly. And by providers, I mean mental health agencies, addiction agencies, housing, food stability, DCF, elder services. So all different types of social services that might be beneficial to someone who's struggling. And we present the case in a private way, so we don't disclose any personal information, and kind of explain the risk factors, which might include addiction, that might include homelessness, it might include unemployment. And then any provider in the room who believes that they might be able to provide a service that would be beneficial for that individual, they kind of raise their hand and they become part of this separate cohort of outreach. And somebody takes the lead, and you kind of have this little mini case management team almost. To conduct outreach with that individual who's struggling and provide them that kind of wraparound service. So you have a team of someone who can address all the different risk factors that that person might be struggling with.
I love that. And I've been fortunate enough to participate with you, and it's been a really rewarding experience to have very much in the moment at our disposal for folks who have multiple different risk factors happening, and a team of people to help surround them with help, or at least the offer of help. But it's always up to people to decide what they want to leverage and what they don't. But I thought it might be helpful to just, obviously it isn't the only way that we help people in the city. And I thought it might be helpful for you to just talk for a minute about how this is different than the day-to-day ways that we interact and collaborate with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, on the day-to-day basis, I'm working with you, Samantha. I'm working with a variety of different kind of support services to provide the service that an individual or family might need. The difference between this is that it incorporates everybody into one room. It creates an outreach team. It also, you know, it addresses something that we call AER, which stands for acutely elevated risk. And that is kind of the focus of situation tables. So somebody who's meeting that level of risk, which means they're taking off multiple risk factors, but they're probably going to continue to struggle unless there's some sort of intervention, which is basically what it means. And so to be able to have this table all come together is really fabulous because, for example, housing is something that's completely outside of my area of expertise. But when we kind of talk about what's going on with an individual, we have somebody from housing that can explain that to us right in real time. Oh, they're probably not going to get housing here, but they might qualify for housing here and emergency assistance or, X, Y, and Z. I think at every single meeting that we've had, and it is a weekly meeting, I've learned something new about services that I didn't already know. So having that live conversation is so, so valuable.
Yeah, excellent. And, frankly, it helps us even with the folks who are not in elevated risk, but might have a particular area of need and support. It tightens those connections. It allows us to serve them even outside the situation table. So, thank you for spearheading that and bringing that to our community. I think it's going to help a lot of us be more efficient in the work that we do, and grateful for that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mackenzie. Up next, we're going to completely switch gears and we're going to talk about something that's really fun coming up. Welcome, Rosemary.
Thank you.
It's all good. I'm so glad that you're here, Rosemary. This year's Portuguese Festival is very exciting because it's 50th anniversary, which is kind of a big milestone. Tell us a little bit about how this all got started 50 years ago.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the Portuguese club down at the South End. Back in the day, it used to be a building that had two apartments, and then the club had the basement and the middle floor, and there was a garage. So I remember my aunt and one of my cousins and a woman by the name of Maria Pia Macedo. Um, Took the space from the garage, set up an altar, and that's how it all began, our feast. It
I
was simple
love
back
it.
in the day. Yes.
I love it. It's not so simple anymore.
No, not at
It is
all.
it is fantastic. Tell us, for someone who might not have been to the festival in the past, them what they can expect.
Well, there'll be a lot of music. Friday we have a trio who's also slash DJ. They'll be providing music on Friday, and then we have a group called Faith, who comes from Rhode Island, to play on Saturday traditional Portuguese music, um, current American music, and on Sunday we also have a band that just also completed their 50th year being together. So they'll be playing music on Sunday. We also have a mass going to be said at St. Charles at 10 o'clock on the Sunday, the 17th. And there's lots of food, lots of dancing, lots of, I mean, it's the families all get together. Back in the day, we used to say it was the South End reunion.
That sounds so fantastic and yummy food. You just like called to me. Tell us a little bit about some of the favorite treats that we can get there.
So the biggest is the carne ao espeto, which is steak tips cooked on a spit over wood amber. And that's the best way to cook it. Some salt, garlic. There's a salt mixture that we provide, and people just sprinkle it on and cook their meat over the fire, over the wood. There's nothing like steak cooked over wood and ambers.
I'll tell you, that must smell so good. So, we're going to have some amazing music, some wonderful food and smelling. And I agree with you. Cooking food over wood ambers is a communal event, which is fun, but also incredibly tasty. Rosemary, thank you so much for bringing this to us. For those who are watching, remind them of the date of the festival.
August 15th, which is a Friday, Saturday, August 16th, and Sunday, August 17th.
Fantastic. And the address where it's located for those who might not be familiar with it.
It's 83 Main Street, down by the South End. If you pass Bill and Bob's, you've gone too far down, but it's in that vicinity. We recommend that if you can carpool, I know the local neighbors all walk down to the feast. We also have parking at the company that's behind the club. They've opened up their parking lot to us. We've got Dunkin' Donuts. Dolan Bailey has also graciously opened up their lot for us to go use for excess cars.
Fantastic. Good food, great music, dancing, and a whole lot of celebration. Thank you for bringing that to us here in Woburn.
Oh, thank you for allowing us to have it.
Thank you all for joining us, Woburn. There is an awful lot going on in the city, things to help each other, things to have fun together, and I feel very lucky, as always, to be here in Woburn. Please continue to take good care of each other.